Hey, y'all. This your girl, Nina, from A Breakable Strong Woman. I'm going to do a little different video today. I was going to talk about the pastor, but instead I'm going to do a story time. Come on in. I hope when you hear the story that you will share my video with the appropriate people, maybe an attorney or a civil rights advocate, somebody that can make this make sense for me, because it don't make any sense to me at all. And I thought I would share it because the Bible states you have not because you ask not. Ask not. And I am a very prideful person. I don't like to share my mishaps or come off like I'm asking for help. But today I am a little bit. And I know everybody's going through something. And I wanted to share my story with you all. And I pray, hey Scorpio mama, I pray that somebody can hear my story. This is just one of many of my story times. And share it with the right people. I'm praying that it reached Dr. Richie and Roland Martin. So if anybody are following them, maybe you can share my video. I'm really hoping that they hear my story. I would love for Pastor Al Sharpton to hear my story. It is, to a lot of people, it don't seem serious, but to me, it's everything. So I'm having story time. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to get through this without crying, okay? Okay, I told everyone that been following me from the beginning. If you go back on my videos, I talk about how I went through a bad divorce. And it led me to being homeless. Making a choice to live and to get away from a well-off, six-figure, educated, abusive man. I chose life, okay? So I had to start over. I'm going to skip through all that. I'll go back through that another day. I had to start over. So in this time in my life, I was in rebuilding state. I had to rebuild my credit. I had to work my way out of a vehicle. And I was back into a decent apartment. Beautiful landscape and pool. I had everything that, it was beautiful. So I was getting my life back. I started over with nothing but the clothes on my back. When my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia after my divorce, my ex-husband came and towed my vehicle away from the hospital that I was living out of at the time. Everything I had left in the world was in that vehicle. So I came outside. I told the story, but a lot of people haven't heard it. To change my clothes because my daughter was fighting for her life. I had just left him. And I look and my vehicle was gone. I fell to my knees. I started screaming, God, I know he didn't just take everything I had left in the world. Anything that belonged to my parents, my deceased parents, I left in Birmingham and it was in that car. So I don't have no memories of my parents, but some pictures on my phone. He even have their death certificate. So I had to go back in the hospital and pretend that I was okay in front of my daughter who was fighting for her life. A friend of mine took me to Walmart, bought me a few items, and told me, hey, it's going to be all right. The only thing I had left in the world was, ooh, I'm sorry, y'all. The clothes on my back, my laptop and my purse, and my children. That's all I had. I still kept working. And that's when I got my apartment, okay? But anyway, my daughter beat leukemia. She came out the hospital in 30 days, but she had to go through chemo for a year. They thought she was going to die. She had lesions on her brain. She was pretty much gone. God changed it around, and she came out the hospital cancer-free. But her body's to this day still go through a lot of trauma. She's the one I showed y'all at the baby shower, my oldest daughter. So one day on October the 1st, 2021, she calls me. My kids call me about everything. They think I'm Superwoman. And they know I'm a mediator. I mentor women. I help people through situations, even when I'm going through my storm. So she was having a problem with this Mexican woman, Spanish woman, over a guy that they found out both of them were dating. Now, my daughter is on lifetime disability. Her body is brittle now. You know, from the chemo and all that, she goes through a lot of trauma in her body on a daily basis and pain. So I don't like to see her get upset. So she called me crying. She said, Mom, this lady keep coming past my house. I don't even want to deal with him no more. I'm just tired of the situation. I'm getting sick. So I'm like, well, tell me more about her. She started telling me more about the woman. And she said, well, she lives with her kid's father. I don't even know if he knows she's seeing the same guy that I was seeing, but I'm not even seeing him no more. Come to find out, I knew the young man she had kids by. His father is an assistant pastor at Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church in Grand Rapids. So I grew up in that church. His father wasn't the pastor when I was there, but I'm like, okay, he in the church I grew up in. My parents was members there 45 years. He got to be a good kid. So I get my daughter. I said, I want to talk to him. She said, whether I can't say her name. She said she is at work right now because I heard she works second shift. So we go over there, and I ride past the house. I said, if I don't see him outside, I'm not going to stop. We ride past once, didn't see nobody. We ride past again, it's a young man standing in the yard, black man. I said, excuse me, sir, is your name such and such? He said, yes. I said, can I speak to you for a minute? He said, sure. You know, he said, yes, ma'am. I bag up, I'm across the street from their house. Down the street, nowhere near their house. Bag up, park across the street. He coming over talking to me. I got my window this far down because I don't know him. And at this time I had a new vehicle. I had to give me another vehicle. I didn't know when I put my car in park that my doors come a lot. So I'm thinking, we safe in my vehicle. My daughter on the passenger side, I'm on the driver's side, and at this time, my daughter has about 20 stitches in the bottom part of her stomach from surgery she had to have due to complications of her leukemia, and they had to do something to her stomach. So she got staples all the way at the bottom of her stomach. She barely can move. I need hip and knee surgery to this day, so I barely can walk some days. And that was one of the days I could barely walk. So both of us pretty much messed up on this day. We cute in our sundresses. We didn't come to fight nobody. I don't fight with my kids. And if she came in malice, I have about 45 nieces and nephews. She wouldn't have called her old brittle mama. She thought mama can solve the issue because I'm Superwoman. And that's what my mother used to do. She'd go to a parent house or go to somebody's house. Old school. You can talk to people, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's how I was raised. He come over to the car. We get ready to talk. I said, I don't know if you heard about such and such and my daughter. Confrontation they had over the phone. And she's right. He said, I heard about it. I heard them screaming at each other. While we talking, she come flying out the house like a raging bull. This girl about 4'11", 300 pounds. Flying across the street. On the other side of the street, come down the street. She in front of my vehicle. She calling my daughter bitch, bees and hoes and stuff. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, you need to get her. Get her under control. I said, my daughter ain't gonna get out the car. I said, that's why I came to see, can I be a mediator to get them to talk? Because this guy evidently lying to both of them. And he making these women want to fight each other. I said, my daughter not in condition. She, just before I got out that she was lifetime disabled, she come around, she opened my door on the passenger side. I'm in my seatbelt, my daughter in my seatbelt. We thinking our door is locked. She opens my door, attack my daughter, Now, this is a big woman. She's on top of my daughter. My daughter pulls her down because she's stuck in her seatbelt, and she's reaching up, and it appears that she's cutting my child's face. I'm screaming at him because I'm in my seatbelt twisted, and I'm pushing her head, trying to get her out the car. My child's screaming. She looks at me, her whole face bloody. She said, "Mom, she's hurting me. Help me." She said, "Just unbuckle my seatbelt. I'm stuck in my seatbelt." So he walking around all slow, looking at his phone, giving her the opportunity to do what she's doing. I reach up under both of them and I pop the lock. But before that, when he got over there, he could tell that my daughter, I'm going to say my daughter's name is Tia. Tia was gouging her eyes out, trying to get her off of her. He could tell that his girlfriend, baby mama, whatever she was to him, was screaming because she was gouging her eyes out. So guess what he did? Grown black man. He grabs my daughter's hair, yanking handfuls of hair out of her head. Then he choking her with the seatbelt. So now two people beating my daughter who have staples in her stomach and on disability. I popped the seatbelt. He snatched her out the car by her hair. Now I'm panicking. I'm reaching in the back seat, and at this time, I had a lot of hustles going on, and one of them was Goodwill flipping. I had just received a tackle box from this older lady from her husband, and it was worth a lot of money. It had this old school like machete in it. It was probably long as my forearm. I just reached in the back seat, didn't know what I grabbed it, got out the car. I went around from the back to where they were. When I got to the other side, my daughter come flying in the air where he had picked her up and slammed her, and she flew into the concrete. Now she's bloody. Her hair is still missing in the back of her head. It'll never grow back. She's bloody. All her hair pulled out of the back of her head, and her eyes is rolling. So I'm thinking, they about to kill my child. I dove over my daughter's body with my right part of my body. I have the machete in my left hand. I'm showing them back because the woman now, she trying to charge at Tia and stomp her out while she on the ground. So she's charging at her. I'm laying over protecting her incision because they don't know she have staples. And if they would have stomped her, they would have killed her. So I'm saying, get back, get back, get back. She falls down. I get my daughter up, get her in the car. I'm hollering and screaming. We get in the car. I call 911. I'm pulling off. I'm talking to the police. My phone is like on 2%. I'm telling them what happened. My daughter bloody, blah, blah, blah. We got jumped over here at these people's house. So just when I was telling the police where to meet us, my phone go dead. My daughter's screaming and hollering, her face on fire. My grandbaby about to get out of school. It's all kind of stuff going on. So she's like, just take me home, Mama. Let me clear up my face, and we'll talk to the police in a minute. Take her home. Get my grandbaby situated. Clean up her wounds. She got, gorgeous dug out her face. Hair gone. She was just messed up. Call the police back. I said, I'm the one that was talking to you with my daughter over there on Butterworth Street. I said, where can I meet you? Because I need to. That's my daughter calling now because she calling about what happened today. Can y'all still hear me? I said, so I want y'all to take pictures of her face, and I want to press charges. Could you meet me at Burger King in the same area? They said yes. We get over there. One police car pulls up. It's two officers. I said, would you like me to get out the car, officer? He said, yes, get out the car. So I get out the car, and I'm talking to him. He asked me what happened. I'm telling him. The other one taking pictures of my daughter. They see the hair all on my dashboard, hair all inside the car. So you could tell it was an attack in my car. So it's hair all over the place. And she's crying and can't breathe. And so they taking care of her over there. Next thing you know, the police tell me put my hands behind my back. I said, excuse me. He started reading me my Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, the victim is in the hospital. I'm like, what victim? My daughter, the victim. He said, no. You cut somebody. who I cut. Because all I'm doing is telling her to get back, get back. Well, let me tell you what happened. When I was telling her to get back, and she was running up trying to stomp my daughter out, it nicked her knee. So he let you know I was below her. It hit her on the knee. She ended up with 18 stitches. But she played it off and wanted to stay in the hospital for 4 days. Said she couldn't walk. Now, all of a sudden, we become the criminals and she become the victim. They disregarded. They kidnapped my daughter out of a car. When you take somebody from a place where they don't want to go, that's kidnap. They snatched her out of the car, beat her bloody, beat her inside of my car. We couldn't even press charges. Mexican woman. 2 black females. They wanted to say that we went over there to fight her and we never got out the car. She pulled her out the car, her and her husband, her baby father. So for 2 years, now I told you I just got my life back, right? All I had saved in the whole world was $5,000 at this time, I think. I gave it to an attorney that's supposed to be the best attorney in Michigan named John Beeson. He didn't beat murder cases, drug cases. He was like our Johnny Cochran. I wanted the best because I'm like, I'm 50 years old. Never been in trouble. Never been in trouble. My daughter was at the time 28. Never been in trouble. My parents never been in trouble. I went to school for criminal justice. I had a daycare through the state of Michigan for 10 years. Worked in banking. Never been in trouble. I'm not taking no felony. They charged me with a felony of felonious assault, which would destroy my whole life that I just got back. So I gave him my money just before court. You know what he did to me? He said, if you was my daughter, I'd just tell you to plea out. But I forgot to tell you this. I went to trial. They wouldn't even offer me a plea. First offense. Knew the story. What's his name? Christopher Becker, the state prosecution. He would not offer me a plea on my first offense at 50 years old. I had to go through trial. It was the worst experience of my entire life. I know how it feels to not have control of your life. I couldn't breathe. Now, my mom and my sister both died from heart attacks. I have a heart murmur. My doctor told me I cannot get upset because it runs in my family. I felt like I was going to die in that courtroom from a heart attack. So for 3 days, 12 white folks sat there and judged me that never met me in their life. It was only 4 out of the 12 that were men. And before I actually picked, it was one Mexican guy on there, Spanish guy. He asked the judge, while we were doing the jury pick, he said, I'm trying to understand because I've never done this before, Your Honor. He said, how are we her peers and I don't see not one black person? The judge starts stuttering and said, well, you know, black people don't really vote. They don't have license so we can keep up with them. That's a damn lie. They don't call us. I never been called for jury duty, and I'm in my 50s. My parents never been called. We are honorable people with license, vote, and everything. Half my family, more than half my family, are honorable people that got license and vote. Never been called, but this is his excuse why out of 100 and some people that picked from downstairs was not one black person. He said that her peers is not her color. It is people of her tax bracket. People in her community. So you couldn't find nobody in my tax bracket that was brown that I could pick from. Because they will understand my culture that we go and resolve issues by talking to parents and trying to talk to others to keep conflict down. And that's what they tell us to do. Stop the violence and talk it out and work it out. I went to do that. So one woman was on there, a Karen. It was several Karens on there. They were mean mugging me before I opened my mouth. Every time they came out, they were rolling their eyes because it was two men that kept saying I was not guilty. It was a few that said they didn't know. All the women said I was guilty. All 12 got to agree to get a verdict. So we did that for 3 days. It came back a hung jury because the men wasn't letting up. They was like, no, if it was my daughter and somebody pulled my daughter out the car, no. So they kept saying, no, I was innocent. Hung jury. You would think at this time the prosecutor would give me a deal, right? Nah. I want to go back to trial. At this time, my first offense, it was a felony I was facing. So Beeson said, you don't want to offer her nothing? No. I want to take her back to trial. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I can't do this again. I barely made it. I was shaking like Don Knotts. They thought they was going to have to call the paramedics for me. I thought the judge was going to take over and say, no, that's it. We ain't going to waste taxpayers' money on this case. Nope, he let him do it. 2 months later, I had to come back. I'm sitting there, got to go through jury pick again. I'm praying. I brought the angels with me. Angel Michael, Gabrielle. I brought all the angels in the courtroom with me. And I'm like, surround me. I need you right now, Lord. This cannot be happening to me. These people trying to take my life away. If I end up with a felony, it's over. And then if I'm found guilty, he can send me to prison for a year. Never been in trouble. So I'm sitting there and I'm praying. I'm asking God what to do. And I stood up and I said, I can't take no more. I felt like what my ancestors felt like. When they was getting beat and they just surrender and say, I can't take no more, how they break a slave. I felt like they broke me like I was a slave. I got up and said, I can't take no more. Y'all win. Do whatever to me you want to do. But I can't go through another trial. So then he had a smirk on his face. Like, yeah. So they went in the back and they talked. He offered me a high court misdemeanor, which I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, okay, a misdemeanor. I can, a year probation. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. Just let me go home. So I took that. Come to find out, my attorney kind of, I ain't gonna say he tricked me. He didn't tell me everything because he knew I didn't know what I was doing. It's a high court misdemeanor, which is like a felony. And it's an assault high court misdemeanor. So I still couldn't work. All the stuff I went to school for and in the field I have experience in, they wouldn't hire me. So I had to drive DoorDash, which ended up me losing my place because my rent had went up to $1,800. I could afford it when I was working. But now I'm driving DoorDash, I can't afford it. So I lose my place. It was days I would only make $50 driving DoorDash. I would scream and cry and holler like, what have I done, Lord, to deserve this? Not only to mention, I owe her $27,000 for a cut on her leg. They making me pay $27, which Medicaid paid for her medical bill. So I'm telling my attorney to fight it. I said, I don't owe her anything. If anything, I owe the state of Michigan for medical. He was supposed to fight it. It's been a year in May. They still say I owe her. So I called him today. Now I'm coming up to today. What happened? I was supposed to get our paper in May. I find out today I might have to stay on for 5 years because I haven't paid the $27,000. I said, well, the judge told me I had 1 year. I haven't had no police contact. I don't think about this young lady. I actually prayed for her. I don't have her. She's not even my concern no more. You mean y'all gonna keep me on paper for 5 years for something that was self-defense? Well, you gotta pay the $27,000 when you got a victim. You gotta pay for the. I said, what? So she also told me the young lady been calling, lying on me to the point she had to tell the young lady off. She called and said that I'm picking with her. I antagonizing her on Facebook. I'm laughing about what happened. If anybody watch any of my videos, they never change. The truth never changed. I've never one time even mentioned her name. My daughter don't think about her. We have went on with our life and said, okay, God will must be done. This must be my destiny. And I moved on. She is doing everything she can because she's jealous of my daughter. That not even with this guy. And she's still picking. This is a Mexican woman that's about 35, live with a black man that's her kid's father. She got 3 kids by him. He's paying all her bills. She fights him, everything. She got charges against the police for fighting the police. She's the violent one. She opened my door and attacked us. And I'm going through all this in my life because Christopher Becker judged me by the color of my skin and wouldn't let a woman that's lifetime disabled press charges. So my daughter said, okay, what about my charges? She attacked me. No, we don't do it that way. We don't have 2 victims. So they deny her for pressing charges. And it's on paper that she's legally disabled. It's no different than pulling somebody out their wheelchair and beating them bloody. So they took my daughter's rights from her. I went to jail for a day. I got a mug shot, I got fingerprint, I got treated like a criminal. But every time I told the story in the county jail, because although I went to jail, y'all, when God is inside you, you make good of what your bad situation is. I was mentoring and ministering to them girls in jail. So I don't regret going that day. I was sharing God's goodness and encouraging women that was on their way to prison. I had them around me, loving on them. And one girl hadn't talked to her mama, and I don't know when, a white girl. I gave her so much encouragement that she called her mama. I said, you only get one. Your mother hard on you because she wants you to do better. So I had the opportunity, which I really believe one of the girls was an informant. I think they thought I was lying. So they put a police officer in my cell. She asked me all the questions, what happened? And I told her exactly what I just told y'all, because the truth don't change. So my daughter called the jail so many times, they ended up letting me go on a Saturday without even seeing the judge. They was like, you just need to go home. Your daughter done called us so many times. You got to go. They kicked me out the jail. And that ain't no lie. They kicked me out the jail, and I came out smiling. I wasn't upset, you know. I said, okay, God, I got to handle this situation, and that's what I did. But what's so discouraging is that I did everything they told me to do. I gave them my last. And they said I got to stay on paper for 5 years, so I paid $27,000, which is outrageous, for 18 stitches. This is what they charging me. The hospital saying that's what I owe because she stayed there for 4 days. Now here I am again. Just get my life back. This how I ended up on YouTube, y'all. So when people get on my channel and they try to put me down, degrade me, and I go off, y'all don't know my story. On top of, I lost half my family in 18 months. And I still had to get up every day like I was okay. The same court system. My nephew was at work. He been in and out of prison all his life. But this time he got it right because he came home and his grandparents was gone and his auntie, which is my parents. He said, I'm going to do this for my grandmother. I'm going to make sure I work hard and I'm going to be a better person. He was working 2 jobs. A detective that wanted him from years ago kept picking with him. And he telling this man, I'm not the same man. I'm different. He told my nephew, before I die, he told him this when he was 16. Before I leave this earth, I'm going to make sure you get life in prison. Kept picking with my nephew, kept picking with him. My nephew let a friend of his drive his car one night. He working third shift. He don't know what the guy did with his car. He didn't know where he went. But a robbery happened at a gas station. His car was not involved. How they traced it back to my nephew? 2 miles away from the robbery, his friend was going through the light, and it picked up his license plate and went back to, it was a rental car, came back to my nephew, Sean Mayberry. He's in Michigan State Prison right now because of this. The detective came out of retirement, got on the stand, which is illegal, and told the jury, I've been trying to get him since he was 16 for robberies. My nephew don't have not one robbery on his record. So it's more likely than not he had something to do with that robbery because his car was 2 miles away from it. Circumstantial evidence. The witness said, I don't know what color this man was that robbed me. He didn't have a gun. He didn't have a car. He left on foot. And they placed my nephew at that robbery. He was at work. They claimed the cameras disappeared to prove he was at work. That he was still on the clock and he left and drove across town, changed clothes twice from his shoes to his uniform, all in 30 minutes. And went back to work. He kept saying not guilty. They offered him 12 years. He said, I'm not doing a day for something I didn't do. He said, all the time I did that. I did my time for what I did, which was 9 years from age 16. He went to prison and did 9 years. Got out. Was in a car with somebody that had a gun, so it was a violation. He had to go to the feds and do 7 more. It was only out a year. He said, I did all that time. Didn't complain. But this I didn't do. So I'm not taking a day. So you can offer me 24 hours right now and I'm going to say not guilty. He went to trial. They found him guilty. They gave him 30 to 60 years for a $200 gas station robbery. The same prosecutor. When y'all talk about justice, my nephew in prison right now fighting for his life. He's been there 6 years. And he was at work doing the right thing this time. We don't have justice when we brown. And they talk about there ain't no such thing as racism. I experienced it firsthand. They try to destroy me and still trying to destroy me. So I went to YouTube and I started my channel to change my life, and YouTube is helping me. I don't know how I'm going to pay this. And if I don't, I got to stay on paper for 5 years. It's so much hate in this world. I was so discouraged. Leon had to really talk to me and keep me encouraged, because I'm like, this can't be happening to somebody like me. The peacemaker, the one always laughing, the one always trying to help people. I would get people to clothes off my back. I help the homeless. I help women that's in distress. And I skipped a big part. Do y'all know I went to the NAACP? I went to the, it's like a black advocate community in my city. I went to a lot of local African American churches. I also went to Robert S., who was our city commissioner, and I grew up with him. All I did is ask him to show up for me. Even the ones that do the protest around about Black Lives Matter, just show up in court so they can see that they can't take me for granted, that I'm not by myself, that I have my community behind me. I looked around in the court with nobody there. I was just in that courtroom by myself. I didn't want my family to come. I just didn't want them to experience that. So I told them to stay away. The first day my kids was there, I told them don't come back. I was sitting there by myself. Not one person who claims they for the community showed up for me. Not one pastor, not one member, nobody. But these the people that want your money, want you to support their congregation, always saying they love they black people, but when it comes down to it, you standing alone. I couldn't even believe the commissioner who I grew up with, been knowing me since I was a kid, didn't show up. Now, Pastor Jerry Bishop, I must not include him because he have showed up many a times for me in other ways. Maybe he was busy, he had been in a bad car accident, and his memory is off. And he's a good pastor. He helped me help a young lady who was homeless, walking down the street bleeding from her cycle with no shoes on and was starving. He helped me get her off the streets. So he blessed her. So he has done enough. So Pastor Jerry Bishop, I would not include you in this city of everything else that's going on. But everybody else, and I know my mom and dad would be disappointed because they belong to a church for 45 years here. And I couldn't get no help. I didn't ask them for no money. I just said your support, your presence would mean a lot to me. I didn't ask nobody to pay for nothing. Even when I was homeless in my car, I didn't go to their churches and say I'm homeless and crying and I need help. I stayed in my car. A lot of people didn't even know I was homeless. I would get up and go to work and wash up in gas stations and put on clothes, dressed to the heels that I got from the Goodwill. And people were like, oh, where you shop at, Goodwill? You lying. Nope. They didn't even know I was homeless. I just kept on trusting God, and he pulled me out that car. And now I'm back in a situation trying to get out again. All the time that I fought to get my credit back right, to get my life back right. My credit shot now because I had to live off my credit cards. God had blessed me with so much credit. I was almost at 800. My credit cards was coming back. I haven't seen 800 since I was in my 20s. I'm like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I owe all my credit cards because I had to live off both of them. I have a money judgment for my apartment. I owe them because I couldn't afford to pay them anymore. I owe $100,000 in school loans, and I owe the state of Michigan $27,000. And this is my story. That's why I have no space for drama, hate, ignorance, because I'm fighting to stay afloat. I fight every day to wake up and be okay. So if this story didn't do nothing but encourage you to say, this too shall pass, and anything you're going through, God will see you through it, I'm still in it. And I'm still praising God. That's why I don't understand how people don't believe. I'm still praising every single day. Because God is showing me he's God. I don't know why I had to go through what I went through. But God do. Maybe I did somebody bad somewhere in life. I don't know. But I won't complain. I'm hurt. But I experienced racism and hate firsthand. And this young lady's still calling down there trying to make my life a living hell when she knows she violated us. They told me you shouldn't have went to her house. I didn't go to her house. I was across the street and down the street. And the last I checked, I'm a taxpayer. I can go down any street I want to. It shouldn't be no limitations what street I'm on, as long as I'm not bothering nobody. But they charged that against me. You was on her street. Her street? She owns a street now? I just don't get it. I can guarantee you, y'all, if that was a black girl that came out and did that to my daughter, they would have took her to the hospital, stitched her up, and told her, you shouldn't have opened that car door. They would have charged her for doing that to my daughter and told her you shouldn't have opened that door. You shouldn't have left your house. You in a safe environment inside your home. You left outside your home, came across the street, cut somebody out for a few minutes, then opened the door and jumped in. All that's premeditated. If that was a black girl, I wouldn't be on paper. Because she was Mexican, she was close enough to white. We were the black girls. Called my attorney today. I said, what we gonna do about this bill? Because she calling down and telling people I owe her money, which Medicaid or her job insurance or whatever, they pay her medical bill. I don't owe her, I owe them if I owe anybody. He was supposed to fight that when I walked out of the courtroom. It's been a year and I still haven't heard from him. So I called him today, and once again, he giving me the runaround. Well, did you get the paperwork? No. Well, the prosecutor said he don't have the paperwork. The judge said he don't have it. So, but y'all know I owe it. Somebody got the paperwork. Y'all keep saying I owe it. So where is it? Well, I'm going to look into it tomorrow. Every day, tomorrow never comes. So tomorrow, I'm going to see if he can put it back in court to fight this huge bill, so I can go on with my life. Don't ever, ever, ever give these people a reason to control your life. Don't ever give them a reason. Because once they get a hold of you, they try to destroy your whole legacy off the smallest thing. They know damn well that was self-defense. They know it was self-defense. I even told my attorney, I said, bring up what's his name? The Trayvon Martin case. What was the guy name that did killed Trayvon Martin walking down the street? I said, you need to remind them. George Zimmerman. How George Zimmerman called the police, following behind this little black boy eating Skittles, drinking some juice with a hood on his head, minding his business. Called the police and said he looked suspicious. And the police told him, don't pursue, back off, leave him alone, we'll pull up. He still went against what the police said, approached this young black man. The young boy started whooping his behind. He pulls out a gun and he shoots him. He brought a gun to a fist fight when they told me you can't bring a knife to a fist fight. He kills an innocent person walking down the street and got off with self-defense. How can the aggressor end up being the victim? That's what happened in my case. The aggressor ended up being the victim. Trayvon Martin dead. He walked. My life is messed up. She walked. But how did he get off with self-defense for cold-blooded murdering an innocent kid? He got off with self-defense. But I couldn't get self-defense and she pulled my baby out the car. They kidnapped my child out the car and was beating her to death. She was dazed. She didn't know where she was. All you could see was the white part of her eyes. From hitting her head on the concrete. Losing blood, and what you don't understand about leukemia, and he didn't mention in court, is a blood cancer. Any mark, she could bleed out and die. She cannot be marked up, bruised up, or nothing for the rest of her life because she could bleed out and die. It's a chance that she get a sore and it won't heal up. And her whole face was mutilated. But this is our justice system. The state of Michigan even have a law that's called no guidelines. Do you know what that means? That means a judge can do what he did to me. No guidelines mean I can do whatever I want to you and ain't nothing gonna happen. I can give you 10 years for jaywalking. So I'm asking all of you, if you want to support my channel, I greatly appreciate it. It would go towards my restitution, not towards me, to get my life back. But I'm asking you to just forward it to somebody that might can help. Which I want Dr. Richie to hear this. I want Al Sharpton to hear it. I want Roland Martin to hear it. It may not be important to you, but it's important to me. Because somebody got to say something, or they're going to keep doing that in Michigan. Not to mention why I think I got the time I did, the probation and the fines. Right before my situation, a black guy, African, named Patrick Leoya was murdered by the police here in my city. Patrick was stopped by a traffic stop. They said his task was expired. It's on video. Look it up on YouTube. Grand Rapids, Michigan, Patrick Leoya, when I get off here. They showed a video. He got out like he was a little disoriented because he couldn't speak English. So he running and he going in circles. He had on some slippers. The police way smaller than him. So he tussling. You know how you getting a whooping by your parents and you grab their wrist, jumping back like, no, don't hit me. That's what he was doing when the guy pulled the taser out. He was pushing his arm back. He wasn't fighting him because I'm sure that young, powerful black man could have outpowered that little white boy because he was a little white man. So he's pushing his arm back. Patrick runs, he falls. It's all on video. The police jumps on top of Patrick. They tussling. Patrick went to push himself up. He pulls his gun out. Put the taser up. Pulls his gun out and shoot him in the back of his head. And all he was doing was running. The same prosecutor that prosecuted me didn't prosecute the police. Self-defense. Until the people made a big ruckus. So they brung him up on charges. And it's still pending to this day, and that was 2021. He still haven't went to jail or faced anything. But I went to trial. Make that make sense. I went to trial. This police didn't go nowhere. He's still been off work with pay since that day. Please share my video. This is your girl Nina from Breakable Strong Woman. I don't have the strength to read y'all comments. I greatly appreciate y'all writing comments. If you say anything in malice, you will be deleted and blocked off my channel. I'm going through enough in my life to deal with nonsense, to argue with anybody. I have no space for toxic people. I give my stories with celebrity news because it's facts. Y'all call it gossip, but what people are going through is facts, and people need to be aware. That's the problem with our community. Everybody want to be, don't talk about Diddy, don't talk about, you supposed to talk about Pastor T.D. Jakes, so people won't fall into that web. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to talk about what's going on so people can be aware of what not to do. I don't make a mockery out of nobody's life. I hate that Diddy did this to himself. I don't make a mockery out of nobody's life because I don't want nobody to make a mockery out of mine. But can nobody tell my story like I tell my story? So I'm going to tell my story first. I have no cut cards, no secrets when it comes to my life because my life is my testimony. And I promise you, I'm going to have one when it's all said and done. I'm going to show y'all who God really is. Because the devil keep coming at me. My life is the book of Job. Everything's been taken from me. And I still praise God. Thank y'all for listening. I have other story times I'm going to be sharing. Keep me up in prayer. Like I said, if you want to support me any kind of way, I don't care if it's $1. It would go towards this medical bill that they trying to take my life for 5 years from. But I understand people have a hard time, and I don't expect people to give me nothing. Do not give me out your need. I don't want that. God will make a way out of no way. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.